Alright guys, welcome to lesson number 18, and now that we understand functions and aggregate functions, I want to show you guys how you are typically going to use them in a useful manner. Because if we go ahead and we look at like the items table, yeah, we can go ahead and figure out the average of all of these, or we can add up all the bids, but that isn't really useful. I mean, it's kind of a neat piece of information, but that's not something we would actually use. When we were making a website like eBay, what we would typically do is we would want to find out not the price of all of the items on the website, but maybe the average price of a single seller's items. Or maybe how many items did, I don't know, user number 11 have for sale? One, two, three. So let me go ahead and show you guys how to make aggregate functions for a single person or for a single parameter. So let's go ahead and let me think of a real life problem. Say we wanted to figure out how many items seller number 6 was selling. And by the way, seller ID, these are just like different sellers. So let's say that my ID number is number 6 and I'm selling a microwave, 48 boxes of frogs, and shampooing, which I had someone else fill these out, but I guess I'm selling shampoo. Maybe it's the brand, shampooing, I don't know. But anyways, I'm selling three different items. So let's go ahead and figure out how to calculate that. So select, now the next aggregate function I want to talk to you guys about is called count. What count does is you give it a parameter and it counts all of the rows in a column. For example, if you were just to count the name in from items, it would give you like 100 items because that's how many items are listed on that website. However, if you only wanted to count my items, you would add a clause after this. For example, where seller underscore ID equals 6. So remember, my seller ID is equal to 6. So this is only going to say, okay, count the number of items where I am the seller. So now if we go ahead and hit go, check it out. Now it comes up with that answer 3 items because what was I selling? Oh, crap, I forgot already. I remember two of them, like a box of frogs and shampoo. What was the other one? Oh, yeah, a microwave, box of frogs, and shampoo. So basically, you could go ahead and count anything. You can go ahead and count the name or count the cost. It doesn't matter what you count, but as long as you have that clause, let's see if I, nope, copied the wrong thing. So as long as you have that clause, count rows from the items where seller ID equals 6. Now, what if you wanted to say, okay, I wonder what the average price of all of my items are? Well, we can do that as well. Select average cost from items. Now, if we run this, it's going to go ahead and figure out the average cost for all of the items on the entire website. But I only want to get the average cost of my items. So what we do is we would add a where clause, seller underscore ID equals 6. Now we go ahead and run that and check it out. The average price of my items, my microwave, box of frogs, and my shampoo, if you add them together and get the average, it's around 80 bucks. Pretty cool, huh? So that is, a more useful piece of information. Maybe you wanted to give everyone their own profile, and at the top you would have their statistics. You would run a query like that and show their statistics right at the top of the web page. So now that I got that taken care of, I want to show you guys one more thing, and that is how to run several aggregate functions at once. Now what we can do is we can just go ahead and run each thing, then put a semicolon at the end, run a query again, put a semicolon at the end, but I want to show you guys a shortcut. In order to run several aggregate functions at once, let's go ahead and tie everything we learned together so far, and let's see, let's say we were, okay, we know my items already. I'm seller ID number 6. Let's get another good seller. Sort by seller ID. Okay, number 12 has a bunch of items: a hair dryer or PlayStation, a used car, a bikini, and an air conditioner. So I'm guessing that they live in Florida with those things. But anyways, that's what we're going to be, running our data on. So first of all, let's go ahead and count all of their items. So in order to do that, we can just go ahead and select count. Now again, since the rows don't really matter or what column you want to count, because any column, it's going to come up with the same number, which is like 5 or 6, whatever it was. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit count all as item underscore count. Now remember, whenever I hit as, since we're creating our own custom columns, what we're going to do is I'm just going to name it item count, and therefore later on it's easier to see what, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of different jobs or functions, and it's easier to see if I give each one a custom name what function I ran. Now, another function I want to talk to you guys about is max and min, M-I-N. Whenever you run this max, it's going to get the highest value. So if you had three different items, one was $10, one was $20, one was $30, the max would be 30 and the min would be 10. So again, max is the highest value of that list and min is the lowest value. So let's figure out which item costed the most. So max cost, of course, because we're working with price, and we'll just name this as max. So whenever we see it, we'll just name it as max. That's what I just said. Just wanted to say it twice. So now we already know average. Let's go ahead and get the average price of their items, average cost, and I'll just name this as average from items. Now again, if we run this query right now, what it's going to do is it's going to count all of the items, get the maximum cost, and get the average cost for the entire website. But I only want to figure out the item count and the max and the average price where seller ID equals 12. So that's what I'm going to do. Go ahead and run this and check it out. So again, seller 12, who is, we'll say he's my friend named Tony, he's selling 5 items. His maximum item is selling for $5,700. That must have been the bikini. And the average price for his items were $1,421 and about a quarter. So now if we go over in the items table and verify this, we'll just make sure that the max, check it out, a used car for $5,700.50. So that is indeed his maximum priced item. So there you go. That is how you can run several aggregate functions at once. Again, the easiest way is just to put each on a new line and then make sure to give it a nickname or name it as something, because whenever you're figuring it out later on, it's easier to go back and look, oh yeah, that's the max or that's the average. So that's your little tip, and there you go. So guys, take a deep breath. You are done with functions and aggregate functions. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.